On to business news now. Striking Transnet workers have rejected the latest pay offer from the logistics giant. Following 2 days of wage talks facilitated by the CCMA, Transnet revised its offer to 4.5% increase across the board for this year. Transnet is also offering a 5.3% across the board for the next 2 years. The United National Transport Union and the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union says workers rejected the latest offer and will continue with their industrial action. For some analysis on this, we're now joined by Miyelani Mkhabela, the Chief Economist at Antswisa Transaction Advisory. Miyelani, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thanks, and viewers of SABC3.
Well, it has now emerged that South African miners are now losing about 850 million rand, that's translated to $44 million in export revenue per day as a result of this ongoing strike at Transnet, which of course has hit commodity exports. So this certainly has created a domino effect on the other sectors. So you reckon there's been a consideration of this fact as the strike rages on?
Transnet is critical, crucial freight logistics for South Africa. Is the largest and crucial logistics facility for South Africa. And when you look on ports, rail and pipeline transport, you find that in the structure of the South African industry, we depend on import and exports, and those elements happens to be carrying almost around 55% of the economy, or 55% of the economy depends on ports and terminals, including the whole aspect for Transnet. I believe it will cost South Africa so much for allowing the strike for Transnet. Looking at mining industry, manufacturing industry, but at the same time look on the country that is dependent on the imports that are coming to the country. You find that is very huge, and a day or two not having such processed imports, it will be really a huge backlog for the economy.
Well, Satao also says that it finds it very insensitive and disturbing that during such very sensitive and tense negotiations, Transnet has the so-called audacity to hint at retrenchments. So if this could be true, could this have been the only way out for Transnet?
I think Transnet leadership needs to understand one thing, that inflation is above 7% now. So all the time, increment year on year must be, aligned with inflation. So if inflation is 7%, Transnet employees can demand 6%, can demand 7%, or they can demand sometimes 8%. So I think it is really insensitive for them to probably be looking at 4% or these 3% negotiations that are happening countrywide. I think we are done with COVID-19. I understand that the pandemic might have affected the economy, but I don't think it is practical for the economy to give employees 3% increment while inflation is at 7%. I think that is not practical, because they take the weight of the economy to the employees, but not to the company, and it's the responsibility of the company and government to cover that for employees. So it is practically something that I don't understand, who is advising public government and all these state-owned enterprises to be doing that. I think it is very insensitive. And then employees hasn't been getting increment, the past 2 years, and this comes in as a challenge for almost each and every family.
Let's talk about the other sectors that have been affected as a result of this ongoing strike at Transnet. In as much as it does affect, the social fabric of the employees, but it does in a big way affect, the country's economy. As you said, Transnet is a very crucial freight and logistics company. So how much of an impact has this strike had on the country's economy?
I can't really quantify in figures, in financial figures, but what I can indicate is a Transnet strike impact almost 60%, 55 to 60% of the economy. So, like when you look at the South African economy, if the economy is dependent to Transnet on 60%. Because of its import and export, then you will see that if the strike takes on for a day, and then we are, let's say, making a billion a day, so it will be maybe around 600 million will be lost because of the connectedness of the transport freight. So it will be really a huge impact. Hence, I can probably indicate it on the percentage based on GDP.
All right, Mr. Mkhabela, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us.
Thanks so much, and viewers.
All right, that was Miyelani Mkhabela, the Chief Economist at Antswisa Transaction Advisory, just talking to us about the impact of the ongoing Transnet strike, with Transnet saying that, the union's demands would not be sustainable as wages currently make up 66% of its total expenses.